Hello folks and welcome to another Necromunda battle report. We're finally back. This time we have Vishello Girlz, the Escher, taking on the devout and fanatical Redemptionists, the burning brand. As always, if you like the content, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now let's check out the gangs. Here we have Vishello Girlz, led by Queen Vishello. She's armed with a power sword, a las pistol, and a bolt gun, and she knows the step aside skill. Then we have second in command, Kaishi. She's armed with a stub gun, plasma pistol, a power knife, and she knows the dodge skill. Then we have the Death Maiden, Raven. She's armed with a plasma pistol, a needle pistol, and a venom claw, and she knows the lightning reflexes skill. Then we have little sister Alessa. She's armed with a stiletto knife and 2 stub guns. And now we have a bunch of sisters. First up, we have Jukio. She's got a shotgun with acid ammunition. Then Melind, she's armed with a las gun. And Zelene, who's armed with a las gun also. And finally, we have the new recruit Aloki. She's a specialist. She's armed with a nightshade chem thrower. And last but certainly not least, we have the wild runner Kalissa. She's armed with a wild bow with poison arrows and acid arrows. And she's accompanied by a feelings companion Ziggy. And their opponents today, the fanatical zealots of the Redemptionists, the burning brand, led by the fanatical Balthazar. He's armed with a chain axe and an executioner, an auto pistol, mesh armor, and the Book of Redemption. And he has the skill Rain of Blows. Next to him is Deacon Matthias. He has a chain axe, an executioner, an auto pistol, and mesh armor. And his skill is Unshakable Conviction. Then we have Deacon Torment. He's armed with an executioner, mesh armor, and his skill is Blazing Faith. Then we have Brethren Specialist Horst. He's armed with a grenade launcher and flak armor. And next to him, Brethren Jonas, armed with an auto gun, an executioner, and flak armor. Then Brethren Elias, with a shotgun, flak armor, and executioner. And finally, to round off the gang, we have 3 bone picker Jews, Trudge, Burke, Dirk, and Kirk. And they're all armed with stub guns and axes. This time we're going to play the mining expedition scenario from the Book of Outcasts. Whilst setting up the battlefield, we did have to allocate 4 pieces of scenery to be prospect sites. The prospect sites need to be roughly 4 inches across and at least 8 inches away from the battlefield edge. The pieces of scenery that we allocated, you can see clearly as they're numbered from 1 through 4 with these orange markers. The gangs are looking for rich seams of scrap to mine. A standing active fighter who is wholly within a prospect site and who is at least 6 from any enemy fighters may make a prospect double action. When this action is performed, we have to roll on a table to see what happens. Roll 2d6. You score a 2, sinkhole. The fighter must make an initiative check. If they pass, they're seriously injured, otherwise they're taken out of action. 3 to 5, damn thing bit me. The fighter finds nothing and also suffers an immediate strength 1, damage 1 hit. 6 to 9, there might be something here. The fighter doesn't find anything yet. But if they make a prospect double action, again on the next activation, they can roll 3d6 instead of 2d6. And then 10 plus, some good scrap here. The fighter finds a rich seam of scrap. We mark the site as mined and it cannot be prospected for the rest of the battle. Each mined out site adds 2d6 times 10 credits to that gang's stash at the end of the battle. And the gang that prospected the most sites is the winner. If both gangs prospected the same, the battle ends in a draw. Now with all that boring mission stuff out of the way, let's check out deployment and get straight into the game. So deployment here on the flank, we have Matthias and Brethren Jonas. And then in the center, ready to prospect this site, we have Burke and Kirk, the Drudge team. And then clustered near this other site, we have Balthazar, Matthias and Tormund, and of course, another Drudge, Dirk. And over here on the other flank, up on this vantage point, we have the Brethren Specialist Horst. Now let's check out the Escher. Up on this vantage point we have Melind, and down below we have Kalissa and Ziggy. And Zelene behind this bin, and then Vishello, Jukio, and Alessa all ready to head over towards this mining site. And then on the other side of this wall we have Aloki in the middle with Raven and Kaishi behind this barricade, who are probably looking to secure this prospect site. And the only other thing I do have to mention before we get into turn 1 is that we decided that the marketplace could not be seen through as the stores were jumbled with wares. Now let's get to the priority roll for turn 1. And Vishello Girlz win. I'm going to start with Zelene. With the first action, she's going to move up behind these barrels, which will get her a nice line of sight through at Horst, up on this building. It is going to be a -2 for cover, so she's looking for a 6-up. Unfortunately with that one, it does miss, but there's no ammo roll. And now over to the Burning Brand with Horst. He's going to step up behind this cover and then have a shot all the way across the board at Melinda, and he's trying to put the grenade right at her feet. So no modifiers, and looking for a 4+ to hit, and that 5 will do it. Now 4's to wound, and that's successful. And she goes down seriously injured, so the first blood going to the Burning Brand. Now we did roll for knockback, and she did actually get thrown off this building. And the fall did wound her as well, but this time it's just a flesh wound. And that was a nice start for the Burning Brand. Now let's get back to the Escher. Kalissa and Ziggy are up now. Kalissa uses both of her actions to move, creeping through the market stall and crouching behind this table. And then Ziggy follows close on her heels, and he ends up just behind these crates. And their final positions are right there. Now back over the Burning Brand. Matthias is going to group activate with Jonas. Both of them just advance around this corner and up next to this wall, ready to open that door next turn. Not wanting to really make another meaningful move yet, it's over to the Escher and activate Melinda. She's just going to crawl towards this bin for some cover. Now over to Burke, and he's just going to move up next to this prospect site, ready to see if he can find some scrap next turn. And now back to the Escher with Alessa. She's going to do a similar thing and just move up next to this prospecting site, ready to see if she can find anything next turn. Now back to the Redemptionist with Kirk. He's going to follow his little friend, and they're both up next to that site. Now Loki's turn. She's looking to prove herself as she's a newcomer in the gang, but she plays it safe from the first turn and just moves up twice behind this cover, ready to spring out and spew beautiful toxic death onto the Redemptionists as they come through that door. Now over to Balthazar. He's going to group activate with Jonas and the other drudge Kirk. Oh wait, is it Dirk? Maybe Burke. Either way, he's going to move up next to this site, ready to prospect it next turn, while Balthazar and Elias advance up into this alleyway, take cover behind this wall. Now it's Jukio's turn. Much like everybody else, she's going to move up twice, keeping close to this mining site. And the last model to activate for the Burning Brand is going to be Tormund. He's going to advance twice up behind this jumbled market stall, staying out of line of sight. Now we're just left with the last few models from the Vishello Girlz, and it's going to be Raven. And she just advances up once with the first activation, and then again behind this bin. And then Kaishi, following close on Raven's heels, moves up once and then again up against this wall, taking cover and staying out of line of sight. And then finally, Queen Vishello. She's going to move up once and again to behind this mineable site. And that wraps up the first turn. Now, at the end of each turn, the Redemptionists get to roll 1 dice for each of their active fighters and 1 dice for each fighter on the enemy gang that's been taken out of action or seriously injured. So this is going to give them a total of 10 dice. Each result for a 5 or a 6 gives them 1 point that they can use towards special faith abilities. And they accumulate 3 points for the first turn. Now the recovery phase with Melinda, and she's still down seriously injured. And it's always a big priority roll for turn 2, and the Redemptionists win it. And of course, it's going to be Horst up first. Now he loads a frag grenade into his grenade launcher, and then lines up a shot at Zelene. He's aiming for the ground, so there's going to be no modifier, so he's looking for a 4+ to hit. But unfortunately, that 1 does miss. Now let's see where it scatters. And that grenade goes wide and explodes against the wall. Now, over to the Escher, it's going to be Melinda. She's just going to crawl behind this bin for some cover. And now it's Dirk's turn to prove his worth. Can he find some good scrap? Oh, and he's done it with a double 6. These bone pickers sure know where the good scrap is. And we're going to turn this marker over to indicate that this site has been mined out. Now, back to the Escher with Alessa. Let's see as she's as good at finding scrap as Dirk. Unfortunately, she hasn't found anything, but that will give her 3d6 on the next attempt. Now to Burke. Can he find some good scrap? Unfortunately for him, he hasn't found anything, but it's going to increase his chances if he tries next turn. Zelene's up now, and she's going to try and take Horst off his perch with an aimed lasgun shot. It's -1 overall because of cover and aiming. She's looking for a 5+, and that 6 does it. Unfortunately, that 2 fails to wound. Now let's see if he falls off. He's going to make an initiative check. He gets +1 for the barrier. Ooh, and he's failed that, so he plummets down to the ground. And the fall does wound him, and his flak armor doesn't help him out. So he takes an injury, and he's down seriously injured. Can Kirk find something where Burke couldn't? And he can. These drudges really know where the good scrap is, and that's 2 mining spots secured for the burning brand. It's another 2d6 times 10 at the end of the battle. Back to the Escher now, and it's Jukio's turn. She is also going to see if she can find something at this mining site. Fortunately, she doesn't find anything, but that will give her 3d6 on the next attempt. Now, back to the Redemptionist is going to be Balthazar. He is going to group activate with Elias. Firstly, he holds the Book of Redemption high and starts to recite its words. Cackling with glee as he does. This is going to give every fighter within 6 inches of him 1 reroll of a 1 when making an attack. Then with his second action, he's going to advance up to here. And now Elias. He moves around the corner and then unleashes the one-time fiery fury of the Executioner. And he does manage to just clip both Kalissa and Ziggy in the template. Now let's roll to wound. Looking for a 4+ on both Kalissa and Ziggy. Gonna do Kalissa first. That fails to wound. Now to see if she's on fire. That fails also. And now to Ziggy. And that fails to wound again. And it doesn't set him on fire. Must have been a dud. Back to the Vishello Girlz, and of course we're gonna go with Kalissa and Ziggy. Kalissa vaults this table up behind these crates and then notches an acid arrow and levels a bow right at Elias. There are no modifiers here, so she's looking for a 4+ to hit. With that 3, the arrow streaks wide, clattering against the steel walls of the Underhive. Now over to Ziggy. With a little screech, he pounces at Elias and charges into close combat with him. Now on the charge, he does have 3 attacks at hitting on 4s, and he scores 2 hits. And now he's wounding on a 4, and that 6 will wound. He's got to save. Unfortunately, that just fails, so straight to injuries. And because of the charge, he's going to get a free coup de grace, and that's going to take Elias out of action. With his sharp teeth and claws, Ziggy rips Elias to shreds. Balthazar's within 3 there, so he has to make a nerve check. And with a zealous cackle, he easily succeeds. Now to Deacon Tormund, who's looking to get a little bit of revenge. He moves up once, and then lets rip with his Eviscerator. And the burning flames of revenge do manage to catch Kalissa and Zelene under the template. Now let's roll for Kalissa first. 4 up to wound, unfortunately that fails, and doesn't set her on fire either. Are these flames even hot? Now Zelene, 4+ to wound, that does wound, and finally sets her on fire also. Doesn't have a save, so straight to injuries, and she's taken out of action. Nasty. Back to the Escher with Vishello. She sees an opportunity to take a shot at the opposing leader. She moves once up on top of this mining site and then levels the sights of a bolt gun on Balthazar. It's +1 for short range as he's hitting on 2s, and that hits with 2 shots. And looking for a 3+ to wound. One of them does wound. Now armor safe. It's a -1, so he's looking for a 6+, and that fails. Bolt gun does do 2 wounds, which reduces him to 0 wounds, so it's just 1 injury roll. Ooh, but it's just a scratch. A flesh wound, Balthazar does go down pinned. And back to the Redemptionists with Matthias and Jonas. They're going to group activate. Matthias, being cunning and tricksy, skirts around down this alleyway and pulls up just at the corner here. And then Jonas, with his first action, opens up the door and then cheekily dashes to the other side of the door, just giving the Escher a little glimpse of his rippling robes as he runs. Now it's Loki's turn. The newcomer, looking to prove herself, she moves once to here and then again right up into the doorway. She stands there and snidely calls out insults to the hiding Redemptionists. With all the Redemptions now activated, we're just left with the last of the Escher. Kaishi's up. She's just going to reposition around to here, keeping her options open for next turn. And now to Raven. Respecting the threat of Matthias' executioner, she retreats behind this wall, keeping out of line of sight. Now to see how much faith the Burning Brand has gathered. Ooh, and that's a good roll. 5 this turn for a total of 8. Now the recovery phase with Melind first. And she recovers, so we're going to flip this to a double flesh wound. Now to Horst. Ooh, and he gets up as well. And at the end of that turn, the battle really has heated up, with multiple little skirmishes breaking out across the battlefield. The Burning Brand have taken the lead on the objective front, with 2 of their sites already mined out. There's plenty of hotspots on the battlefield, so this initiative roll is going to be a pretty important one. Now let's get there and see who wins. And the Redemptionists take it. And of course, they're going to start with the man Balthazar himself. He stands up and then preaches the word with a cackle. And then hands it over to Tormund with the second half of the group activation. He raises a Eviscerator high into the air, smoke billowing out of the side, and charges at Ziggy. And with a maniacal cackle, he's going to attempt to give himself the blaze trait on his weapon. And with the 3 faith dice he chooses to use, he easily succeeds. He's got 3 attacks. And 2 of those hit. Now, he does get to reroll 1-1 because of Balthazar preaching the word. But unfortunately, that still misses. And both of those wound easily. Now let's check for blaze. And that set Ziggy on fire as well. Now Ziggy doesn't have a save, so 2 injury rolls. And with a spray of blood, Tormund takes Ziggy out of action and relishes the moment with a maniacal grin. Now over to the Escher. With Vishello, she's going to group activate with a lesser. Now Vishello really is into revenge, and she's going to level a bolt gun at Tormund. No reason to aim because she's at close range, so she's looking for a 2+ to hit. And that hits with 3 shots. Ouch, and all 3 of them wound. Now he does have a 6+ save, but they all fail. So this is going to be 6 wounds coming through. And because he's a deacon, that's 5 injury rolls. And there it is, the dreaded skull. Tormund has been splattered against the Underhive floor. Revenge achieved. And Balthazar is close enough for a nerve check, but of course, cackling like a madman, he cares not. Then Vishello's going to reposition with the last action down to here. Now we're over to Alessa, and she's going to attempt to find some sweet scrap. Now she does have 3d6 on this attempt because of last turn. Damn, unfortunately, that's a terrible roll, which actually means something's bitten her, and she suffers a strength 1 hit. But that fails to wound. Now it's Jonas's turn, and he is going to take the easy option. Levels his autogun right at a Loki. She's out in the open and it's +1 for range, so she's hitting on a 3+. And gets her right in the chest for 2 shots. Falls to wound, and 1 of them is successful. She doesn't have an armor save, so it's straight to injury roll. Ooh, and the new girl's gone down seriously injured. Kalissa's turn now. She moves up to get a clear firing line on Balthazar and then notches an acid arrow and lets it fly. She's looking for a 4+ to hit, and that will hit. Now Balthazar does have a flesh wound, so this is wounding on 3s. That's successful. Now to see if he's on fire. Unfortunately, he's not. Now he does have a 5+ save, which he fails, and takes another flesh wound, and goes down pinned. Balthazar's one tough nugget. Now over to Kirk. Having completed his mining mission, he moves twice into this alleyway, ready to help out Balthazar the Brave on the next turn. Now back to the Escher. They've really got to secure one of these mining sites for themselves. Jukio's going to try. Unfortunately, that fails again. Now it's over to Dirk. Well, at least I think that's Dirk. And he moves twice down into this alleyway, coming to the aid of Jonas. New girl Loki's up. She just crawls 2 inches to here. Now back to the Redemptionists. I'm pretty sure this is Burke. He moves up twice next to his friend Kirk. Yeah, that's Kirk. Back to the Escher with Melind. She gets up with the first action, and then with the second action she moves up behind these crates, looking to get a nice firing line for next turn. Now over to Horst, and he gets up with his first action and then moves behind this market stall, staying out of line of sight. And with the rest of the Escher unable to secure this mining spot, Kaisha decides she'll give it a go as well. But unfortunately, she fails as well. She will get 3d6 on the next attempt, however. Now, it's just Matthias left for the burning brand, and he advances around this corner out into the open, and then engulfs the poor old new girl in flame. The template easily covers it. We're looking for a 4+ to wound, and that's successful. Now, is she on fire? She sure is. This really has been a trial by fire. And the injury dice says she just stays down seriously injured. Now over to Raven. Matthias has come out of his hiding spot, so she sees the opportunity and moves forward once, and then from close range blasts at him with her plasma pistol. Now because of close range, she's hitting on a 2+, and that easily hits. But it's an ammo roll, that 6 passes. Now over to wounding. She's looking for 3+, and that 4 succeeds. It's going to do 2 damage, so it removes his first wound and takes an injury on the second one. Let's see how much faith the Redemptionists gather this turn. And it's another 3, which keeps their total at 8. Now to recovery phase, and with a groan, Matthias recovers. The faith is strong. And Loki, of course, she stays down. Big initiative roll, and it's a tie, which means the Vishello Cygirls win because the burning brand had a last turn. First up for the Escher, it's going to be Raven. Round 2. Let's see if she can keep him down this time. Same as before, she's hitting on a 2+ because of range. And that just does it. Because he's got a flesh wound, she's looking for a 2+ to wound. Ooh, and that 1 fails. Disappointing. So he stays down pinned. Now Raven's going to reposition. And just back around the corner to where she was before. Now over to Jonas, who sees the opportunity for glory. And he charges around the corner. Poor old Loki, who's been rolling around, burning on the floor for a few turns. And he puts her out of her misery. Now it's Kalissa's turn. She's just going to aim this time and shoot again at Balthazar. Hitting on a 3, and that 4 will do it. Now she's wounding on a 2 because he has 2 flesh wounds. That 5 succeeds. Now a blaze check for the acid arrow, but Balthazar seems to be immune. 5+ save from his mesh armor, and that succeeds. Now it's back to the burning brand with Burke. Yeah, that is definitely Burke. Getting up nice and close to this mining site. See if he can steal it from the clutches of the Escher. Now back to the Escher with Vishello. These Redemptionists are getting a little bit too close for comfort. She moves up once and levels her bolt gun at Jonas. Now this is a close range shot, so it's hitting on 2s. And that hits with 2 shots. And wounding on 3s, and they both go through. So now 4 injury rolls. And he goes down seriously injured and takes 2 flesh wounds. He's hanging in there on faith alone. Back to the man, the legend that is Balthazar. And he stands up, cackling and preaching the word. It's Alessa's turn now, and she's going to see if she can find some sweet scrap. Ooh yeah, that does it. So 1 for the Escher now, 2 for the Redemptionists. That'll give them 2d6 times 10 credits at the end of the battle. Inspired by the holy words of Balthazar the Great, Kirk musters all his courage and moves forward once and then takes a shot at Calissa with his stub gun, looking for a 5+ to hit. Ooh, and he's done it. And in the presence of the great Balthazar, he will be kind to me, yes. Wounds also, now straight to injuries because she doesn't have an armor save, but it's just a flesh wound. Calissa does go down pinned, however. Back to the Escher now with Melind. Kirk's come out of his hiding spot and presented himself as a beautiful target. She advances to here and then takes a shot with the las gun. Now hitting on 3s because of close range, and that succeeds. And that 5 wounds, he doesn't have any armor, so straight to injury roll. Ooh, and it's another flesh wound. Escher really cannot seal the deal. Now it's over to Horst. And he moves through the market to here, and then loads a frag grenade in his grenade launcher and tries to land a grenade right next to Melind. He doesn't have a clean shot, however, so he has that -2 to hit, which means he's hitting on a 6. And that does miss, and the grenade scatters wide, just missing Melind with the blast. Now it's Chukio's turn. She's got her eyes set on Matthias, and then loads some solid slugs into a shotgun and lets it rip. And she hits him easily with that 5. Now, wounding on 2s because he's flesh wounded. Matthias does have an armor save though, and that 5 succeeds because it's mesh armor. And back to the Redemptionists with Matthias. He stands up with his first one, and then unloads his auto pistol into Jukio, and hits her with 3 shots. Falls to wound, and 2 of them go through. She doesn't have an armor save, so that's 2 injury rolls, and she goes down seriously injured and takes a flesh wound. Man, Matthias getting some serious revenge. Now, we're over to Kaishi. She's going to try and mine again. She does have 3d6 this time, but unfortunately that fails. Now to Burke. He moves up next to his friend Kirk and then tries an impossible shot at Melind and fails convincingly. And that wraps up the turn. Over to Faith points again, And that's a further 3 secured for the Redemptionists, taking their total to 11. Now the recovery phase, first to Jonas. And that's the best result for him, he stays down seriously injured. Now to Jukio, and she revives, getting up with just a flesh wound. Now, priority roll for turn 4, and Redemptionists win it. Now, as is tradition, Balthazar's going to activate first. It is a group activation along with Horst. He stands up cackling, preaching the word with his book, and then takes a shot at Malind with his auto pistol. There's a lot of cover in the way, so he's hitting on a 6. That misses entirely, and he's got to make an ammo roll, but he passes that. Now Horst's up. He moves across to here to get a clear lane of fire on Malind, and then tries to drop a grenade right next to her. And there's nothing in the way, so he's hitting on a 4+. And that misses. And it scatters back towards the faithful servants, Kirk and Dirk. And it actually catches Kirk in the blast. Oh, this could be tragic. Now he's getting wounded on a 4+, and that succeeds. And he does go out of action. Is there no mercy? Now Horst and Burke, or is it Dirk, both need to make nerve checks. And when it's all said and done, Burke actually fails. So he is broken. Now over to the Escher with Jukio. She spends her first action to get up and then return fires at Matthias. It's going to be solid slugs again, so she's hitting on a 3+. And nails him with that 6. Now he does have a flesh wound, so she's wounding on a 2, and that succeeds. And this time, it does fail his armor save. Now, knockback is going to knock him back into the wall, which is going to increase the damage from 2 to 3. And that does put him down seriously injured, but the 2 extra flesh wounds takes his toughness down to 0, so he's removed from the battlefield, out of action. Finally, Matthias goes down. Now, this is Dirk. I think it's Dirk. Maybe it could be Burke. Anyway, he's going to leap across this bin and charge Jukio. And he easily makes the distance with that 5. Now he's got 2 attacks with his axe and 1 with his stub gun. And they all miss. That was terrible. Jukio gets to hit him back. She's only got 1 attack though, and she's just punching him with her fists. And she catches him across the face with a slap. But unfortunately, it doesn't wound. It's Malind's turn now. She's going to aim and shoot a lasgun at Kirk. No, wait. Kirk's already out. Burke. Pretty sure that's Burke. That 5 easily hits him, but 1 fails to wound. So he just goes down pinned. Alright, now let's see where Burke runs. With that result, easy enough to get him to safety around this corner. He just cowers there whimpering, muttering, Kirk, 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 oh my beautiful Kirk. I'm pretty sure he's going to feel the painful bite of a whip when he gets back to camp from that display of cowardice. Now it's over to Raven. She's going to charge that fool of a drudge that dared try to hurt her friend Jukio. Now, this fool of a drudge actually does have some tricks up his sleeve. He's going to use an act of faith. With that roll, he easily succeeds, which means Raven needs to make a nerve check, otherwise she's unable to attack him. But Raven cares not. Raven has 4 attacks with the Venom Claw and 1 shot with the Plasma Pistol. Plasma Pistol misses, but everything else hits. Now, she needs to roll a 3+ to affect him with the Toxin, and all of them are successful, which means 4 injury rolls, and those 3 out of action with 3 coup de grace means this little drudge has been pumped full of poison and collapses to the ground incapacitated. Now over to Brethren Jonas, and he's just going to crawl 2 inches towards this doorway. Now back to the Escher with Kaishi. She's going to attempt to find that sweet scrap. She does have 3d6 because of her efforts last turn. And finally, she succeeds, which will secure this side for the Escher and also bring an end to the battle. And at the end of it all, it is actually a draw. Redemptionists mined 2 sites, and the Escher have also mined 2 sites. So they're both going home pretty wealthy with an extra 46 times 10 credits. Now, we're going to head to the postgame to roll up some injuries and some income. So please do stick around for that. And before we get there, we have to check see if Jonas is going to take an injury. That 3, he's safe and won't have to roll on the lasting injury table. First up, injuries for Ziggy. That's a 52, so that's an eye injury. Luckily, he doesn't need those to attack in hand-to-hand combat. Now to Zeline, and that's a 15, she's just out cold. Now to the new girl, Aloki. Ooh, and that's a critical injury. But the Escher will use their reroll from the Stinger Mold patch. So instead, that's actually an eye injury. Now to Kirk, who actually got killed by his own comrade. And that's a memorable death, which means Horst will get a bonus experience points for taking him out. What a tale to be told. Now to another one of the Drudge brothers, and that's a head injury. Ouch, he's going to miss the next battle in recovery. And now for Elias, who, with a 46, has become humiliated. Then Tormund, who's just out cold. And finally Matthias, who takes a grievous injury and goes in recovery for burning brand income. Balthazar and his gang managed to secure 2 mining spots for 46 times 10. Wow, and that's a huge total of 160 credits. Then a d6 times 10 for the settlement, total of 40. And now to see if they get any Jews or gangers, and they get neither. Finally, 2d6 times 5 for the Bone Shrine, for another 45 credits, for a ground total of 245 credits. Now the Vishello Psy Girls, who also secured 2 sites for 46 times 10, and that's 130 credits. Now generating income for 2 old ruins, which is 2d3 times 10, and that's another 40. And then d6 times 10 for the settlement, that's another 60. Now to see if they get any Jews or gangers, but neither of these are gained. That gives Vishello Psy Girls a total of 230 credits. Thank you very much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed this Necromunda battle report. It was great to get a few more games of Necromunda in, and we're really happy to be bringing you some more in the future. This game was a lot of fun and was really good to see a new gang in the Redemptionists on the table. And as always, if you liked the content, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's plenty more Necromunda on the way, and I really hope you can join us for some of those. Until then, take it easy, have fun, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.